We're about to begin a brand new love journey. Comment where you're watching from so we can see that our Soul Stories family is all around the world. Music swelled and dipped beneath the glittering crystal dome. Guests in lavish attire raised their glasses, exchanging polite smiles. The Coal Corporation's annual charity gala was always the grandest event in the city, a place where the powerful flaunted their wealth and hid secret agendas behind refined manners. Lily stood at the entrance of the grand hall, her hand clutching a small silver clutch. Her breath came quickly, her palms damp with sweat, even though the spring breeze outside was cool. She didn't belong in this world, a simple art teacher with just enough income to get by, and a heart that had once been shattered. "Come on, Lily, don't be so nervous," her best friend Emma whispered, tugging her forward. "You look beautiful, and you're smart too. You have every right to hold your head high like anyone else in this room." Lily forced a smile. She knew Emma was right, but her heart refused to obey reason, because here was a man she had spent 5 years trying to forget. And then, like a blade slicing through the crowded room, her eyes met his. Jack Cole. He stood across the hall, tall and commanding, in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. His dark hair was neatly styled, and the sharp lines of his face carried a calm, cold beauty, like a Greek statue bathed in golden chandelier light. Jack always stood out, always drew stares. But to Lily, his presence was nothing less than a storm crashing through the carefully buried memories she had fought to suppress. She shivered. 5 years ago, he had been everything. The place where her heart found trust, the arms she thought would always belong to her. But then one day he had turned distant, cold as ice. No explanation, no chance for answers. Lily had left believing that to him she had been nothing more than a fleeting shadow, a gust of wind in the life of a billionaire who never lacked choices. And yet here he was, only a few steps away, as if time had never passed, as if the wound had never healed. Emma kept pulling Lily along, eagerly introducing her to a few acquaintances from the business world. But Lily's ears buzzed, her eyes fixed only on Jack. She saw him shaking hands, smiling, and offering polite congratulations to guests. That polished charm only made her chest ache more, because she remembered the man behind it, the gentle soul who had once whispered tender words in the dark. And then cruelly Jack looked at her. In that moment Lily froze, his gaze locked with hers, deep, cold, without a flicker of emotion. No surprise, no regret, no sorrow, no joy. Just a passing look, faint and indifferent, as if she were nothing more than an old acquaintance he had long since forgotten. Her heart wavered. That hurt more than his coldness years ago. So it was true. She had left no trace in his life at all. Jack didn't approach. He merely gave a polite nod. The kind one would give a stranger, then turned away and resumed his conversation with the partner beside him. Lily tightened her grip around her wineglass, forcing a smile so no one would see her trembling heart. Once again she felt shut out of that world, where power and opulence devoured everything, even the truest love. Emma noticed the tension in her friend's eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. "I'm fine," Lily murmured, her voice trembling, even to her own ears. Then she lifted her chin, trying to smile. "It's nothing, Emma. He doesn't matter to me anymore." The words rang like a vow, but deep inside, Lily knew it was only a fragile shield, because those eyes, no matter how cold, still made her shake, still dragged back every memory she had sworn never to remember again. And Jack, as he turned away, clenched the hand hidden in his pocket. He had thought he could control himself, remain calm when he saw her again. But the moment Lily's eyes met his, the years he had locked away burst forth. He still stood there, still smiled, still spoke like the perfect businessman. But his heart was no longer in that glittering hall. It had already strayed toward the girl in the soft blue dress, the one he had lost and never stopped longing for. Though the party buzzed with jazz music, laughter, and the clinking of glasses, Jack could barely hear a thing. His gaze, no matter how hard he tried to divert it, was inevitably drawn to one spot, the place where Lily stood. She wore a soft silk dress in shades of blue, nothing too extravagant, yet she stood out among the crowd. Not because of display or wealth, but because of a quiet elegance so rare among the women, draped in dozens of glittering diamonds. Lily was still the same as before. Even the faintest smile could light up the whole room. Jack took a sip of wine, forcing himself to remain composed. He knew he shouldn't keep looking, shouldn't let his heart wander back to old roads. But reason became meaningless each time his eyes found her figure. He had lost Lily once, and it had been his own hand that let go. He had thought he was protecting her, shielding her from the prejudice and fierce opposition of his family. But tonight, as he watched her laughing and speaking with ease among others, Jack felt his chest tighten, as if something inside was being crushed. The man beside Lily was a young businessman, handsome and well-dressed, apparently telling some amusing story. Lily laughed, a bright, clear sound that made Jack feel as if time had rewound years ago, back when he had been the reason for that laughter. But now that laughter no longer belonged to him. A flame of jealousy rose within him, fierce, consuming, unrelenting. Jack leaned slightly, murmuring polite words to the partner in front of him, but his eyes never strayed from Lily for more than a few seconds. He saw the young man lightly touch her elbow as he guided her toward the display of auction paintings. Such a small gesture, yet Jack felt his blood boil. He wanted to stride over, to pull Lily out of that circle, to tell the whole world she belonged to no one but him. But all he did was tighten his grip on the wine glass until his fingers strained from the effort of restraint. Lily, meanwhile, also felt that gaze. Each time she turned away, each time she lowered her head to listen to the man beside her, those cold eyes still lingered, heavy, unreadable. She bit her lip lightly, forcing her smile to remain natural. Inside, a bitter voice whispered, "Why is he looking at me like that? With contempt or simply curiosity? Like examining an old thing once held in his hands and then discarded?" 5 years ago, that very gaze had melted her, warm, tender, as if she were the only one. But here, at this glittering party, it felt like a blade of ice cutting deep into the pride she had struggled to rebuild after years of standing alone. She lifted her chin higher, laughing even brighter at the trivial story the businessman told. She wanted Jack to see that she was fine without him, that he no longer had any power to make her heart tremble. But reality was cruel. Just one glance, just one breath lingering in the air, and her heart already stumbled out of rhythm. She hated herself for it. Jack stood rooted, trapped between two forces, pride and the fear of hurting Lily again, against the burning desire to claim her back. He knew he had no right. He had been the one who left. He had been silent when she needed answers. He had let her walk away in pain. But hearts do not obey reason. Every smile she gave another man was a knife twisting into his chest. Jack turned away, only to glance back moments later. He wanted to pretend he didn't care, but his eyes betrayed him. Emma, Lily's best friend, noticed first. She leaned over and whispered, "Do you see it?" Jack's been staring this way the whole time. Lily flinched slightly, then quickly covered it with a shrug. He's probably just curious. A man like him wouldn't bother about someone like me. That's what she said, but her heart stung. Because if he truly didn't care, why did he keep looking at her that way? Why did his eyes hold something so cold, yet weighed down by an emotion she couldn't quite name? Jack remained standing there, silent, his dark eyes carrying 1,000 unspoken words. He knew Lily thought he looked down on her. He saw the pride she wore like armor, and he knew that with just one wrong move, he could lose his last chance to get close to her again. Fear and love tore at him, leaving him speechless. All he could do was hide it all, behind a cold exterior, behind a calm stance that pretended nothing had happened. But eyes never know how to lie. And it was that unguarded gaze, that gaze he could not conceal, that would become the invisible thread pulling them back together, no matter how hard they tried to deny it. On Friday evening, after her classes ended, Lily received an invitation from Daniel, a colleague at the Children's Hospital where she often volunteered to teach art. He wanted to take her out to dinner to thank her for helping organize the small fundraising art exhibition the week before. At first, Lily hesitated. After the Cole Corporation's charity gala, her heart was still unsettled, her emotions far from steady. But Daniel's friendly smile and sincere eyes made it hard for her to refuse. Besides, she wanted to prove to herself that she could move forward, that she could sit and talk comfortably with another man without being haunted by the shadow of the past. The restaurant Daniel chose was tucked away on a quiet street, not far from the city center. It wasn't luxurious or ostentatious, but warm and inviting, lit by candlelight with soft jazz flowing from the piano in the corner. "I hope you like this place," Daniel said as they sat down. "Not loud, not flashy. I thought you'd prefer peace over glitter." Lily smiled, feeling her chest lighten. "I love it. Thank you." They talked about work, about the children in the pediatric ward, small faces but brimming with courage. Lily listened as Daniel described a difficult surgery from the week before, while he listened intently as she spoke of a child gripping a paintbrush with all the eagerness in the world. Their conversation flowed naturally, as easy and refreshing as a cool afternoon breeze. But just as Lily began to feel at ease, the restaurant door opened. The man who stepped in had a presence impossible to mistake. Jack Cole. Lily's heart stopped. The world around her blurred until only his tall figure remained. He wore a white shirt with a gray blazer, far simpler than his attire at Grand Galas. Yet his aura still filled the room, sending a ripple through the air. Jack was with several associates, likely a business meeting, but with just one passing glance, he saw Lily. In that instant, silence swallowed them both. Lily gripped her water glass tightly, forcing a smile for Daniel, even as her pulse thundered. Why here? Why him? In every place I go. Jack was different. Outwardly, he remained composed, his expression unreadable. As he walked past their table, he gave a polite nod, a gesture of mere courtesy, as if greeting an acquaintance by chance. But inside, his chest was on fire. Seeing Lily with another man, her bright eyes fixed on him, her gentle smile, the very smile he had once been the only one to receive, was unbearable. He wanted to pull up a chair, sit beside her, and declare that Lily belonged to him. But his shoes paused only for a breath before carrying him onward, following the waiter to a table in the back. "Friend of yours?" Daniel asked, noticing the fleeting tension in Lily's eyes. "No." Lily shook her head, her voice steady though her heart was in turmoil. "Just someone I used to know." She turned back to Daniel, but her chest remained tangled. That indifferent nod from Jack had pierced her like a knife. He truly didn't care. No trace of regret, no flicker of feeling. Only polite acknowledgement, as if they were strangers who had brushed past each other once in life. And that made Lily feel both angry and hurt. She laughed more, talked more, as if to prove to herself that she had moved on. Yet whenever she glanced toward the other table, she caught Jack looking her way too. Only for a moment, then he'd turn away again, hiding behind his calm facade. Daniel didn't notice the storm raging silently across the table. He only saw Lily falter slightly now and then, though her warmth remained unchanged. He thought himself lucky to sit beside a woman like her. Meanwhile, Jack sat motionless, his associate presenting plans that he couldn't even hear. Every sound of Lily's laughter reached him like a distant melody he could never touch. Under the table, his hand clenched into a fist, desire and anger boiling within. He wanted to stand, to walk over, to shatter that useless wall of courtesy. But he knew if he did, every carefully guarded secret would spill open. And Jack Cole, the man who always kept control, would not allow himself such weakness. So he sat still, wearing his cold mask, letting Lily believe he didn't care. Only his heart betrayed him, each beat echoing a truth entirely the opposite. That night after dinner with Daniel, Lily returned to her small apartment. The room was silent, lit only by the soft yellow glow falling across the unfinished painting on her easel. She sat down in the chair, her fingers brushing absently against the paintbrush, but her mind drifted elsewhere. The image of Jack at the restaurant hadn't faded. His cold gaze, that indifferent nod, each felt like a blade cutting deep into her heart. He never cared. He never loved me. But then memories surged back, and her heart betrayed her reason 5 years ago. Lily still remembered the first time she met him. Back then, she was just an ordinary art teacher, agreeing to teach free art classes for children at a charity center funded by the Cole Corporation. Orphaned kids, hair tousled, eyes both shy and eager. She came to them with colors, hoping to bring a brighter world, even if only for a few hours. Jack had walked into the classroom that day as a sponsor, Lily assumed he was there just to snap a few photos for the press. But he wasn't like other cold businessmen. He sat down, rolled up his sleeves, and let himself get messy with paint alongside the kids. He listened to every little story, even let a boy scribble pencil lines across his wrist, then laughed as if it were the most precious gift he'd ever received. In that moment, Lily saw more than just a wealthy man. He had a heart, a gentleness, a warmth that few were allowed to glimpse. In the weeks that followed, Jack began visiting the center more frequently. He no longer kept his distance. They talked, sharing thoughts on painting and hidden dreams. She was surprised to find he wasn't as rigid as he appeared. At times, he even showed a clumsy humor. And before she knew it, her heart had fallen. On late afternoons after the children had gone home, they would sit together beneath the eaves, listening to the wind in the trees. Jack told her about the crushing weight of family expectations. She told him of a childhood poor in material things, but rich in freedom. He had once held her hand and said, "With you, I feel like myself. No money, no spotlight, just me." Those words Lily carved into her soul. But everything changed too quickly. Jack grew distant. Texts went unanswered. Plans canceled at the last minute. When she went to his office, he looked at her with cold eyes, speaking formal words as if they had never been close at all. Lily's heart broke, but her pride kept her from begging. She walked away, clinging to the belief that to him, she had been nothing but a passing moment. And yet Jack, in the present, remembered every detail as if it were yesterday. In his high-rise penthouse overlooking the city, he sat with a glass of untouched wine, eyes fixed on the night beyond the glass wall. He remembered those days, when love was just beginning, at the very moment he was forced to take over the corporation. Endless meetings, relentless negotiations. Yet none of it would have made him retreat. He had been ready to fight for Lily, ready to bear the world's weight just to keep her. Until his mother appeared. Eleanor Cole, the iron woman of the business world, sharp and merciless. She sat in the vast living room, her gaze ice cold as she said, "You may run a billion-dollar corporation, but you're entangled with a poor art teacher? Where do you think this will go?" "Don't be naive, Jack. If you don't leave her, I will not leave her alone. I have more than enough ways to turn her life into hell." He remembered how his hands shook at those words. He knew his mother never bluffed. She had destroyed rivals before. A fragile teacher like Lily would never withstand the storm. And so he chose the worst path, to leave. He believed that if he vanished, Lily would be safe. He let her think he was heartless, let her hate him, so long as she was untouched. What he didn't foresee was that his choice wouldn't just shatter her heart. It would leave a fracture in his own that would never mend. Through all the years since, he had never loved anyone else. Women came and went, but none could fill the void shaped like Lily. He tried burying it, drowning himself in work, exhausting every hour of the day. Yet at night, the only image left was hers, the smile, the eyes, and the hurt she carried the day he turned away. Jack tightened his grip on the glass, his dark eyes shadowed with regret. He had been weak, letting fear and cowardice silence his heart. And now the price was an unbridgeable distance between him and the woman he loved most. Alone in his cold apartment, he whispered into the silence as if confessing, "Lily, forgive me. If I had one more chance, I wouldn't let you go again." Outside, the city still blazed with light, but within Jack, the darkness had never lifted, not since the day he lost her. The gallery had opened early, but it wasn't until around 7 in the evening that it truly filled. White lights poured over the oil paintings, thick brushstrokes breathing raw emotions onto canvas. Lily stood beside Summer on the balcony, a piece completed by the children under her guidance. Her heart warmed each time someone paused to look at it a little longer. "You did wonderfully," Daniel said beside her, his smile gentle, his eyes proud. "The kids will be thrilled to know their work is being auctioned for charity." Lily nodded softly. "Thank you. Without you and the team in pediatrics, I couldn't have—" Her words were swallowed by the murmur of awe spreading through the crowd. At the entrance, Jack had arrived. He wasn't in a tuxedo, only a crisp white shirt beneath a black blazer, yet his presence cut through the room like a sharp blade. as though a dark stroke of ink had slashed across an otherwise serene painting. His eyes swept over the artwork, then landed squarely on Lily, the one fragment he could never shield himself from. Jack moved toward them, every step matching the pounding in his chest. He greeted Daniel with a measured nod. "Dr. Daniel," then turned to Lily. "Miss Bennett." The formal, distant way he addressed her made Lily's skin prickle. She returned it with a thin smile, her gaze brushing over him as if he were just another guest. "Good evening, Mr. Cole. Thank you for supporting the charity." "My charity," Jack replied evenly, his tone almost cold. "And your class." "All for the children," Lily said slowly, controlling her breath so her heart wouldn't shatter into sound. A couple stopped in front of Summer on the balcony. The woman marveled, "It's beautiful," while the man asked, "Who's the artist?" Lily smiled and explained that it was a group effort by the children. She had only guided them. As she spoke, Daniel instinctively laid his hand lightly on hers in congratulations. Just the briefest touch. But a brief was all it took to strike a spark. Jack saw it, Daniel's hand touching Lily's. A flame flared inside him. He stepped forward. "Doctor," Jack said low, "your hand." Lily spun around. "Stop." Her voice was flat, cold as glass. "You have no right to say that." The air around them dropped a few degrees. Daniel withdrew at once, politely taking a step back. Jack froze for half a second, the rare moment he didn't know what to do with his hands. "I was only," Jack tried, "commenting on propriety." "Propriety?" Lily's smile curved, but it never reached her eyes. "Was it proper when you abandoned me without a word? Were my 5 years of stitching my heart back together proper? And tonight, you come in like a master giving orders about where people should stand, who they should touch. That is what's truly improper." Her last words struck like a slap across his face. Jack swallowed hard. He had thought courtesy could be his mask. But under these stark lights, the mask cracked, exposing a man made foolish by jealousy. "Lily, His voice dropped, words suddenly shoes that no longer fit. "I can't stand seeing—" "You can't stand it?" She cut him off, eyes flashing sharp. "I was the one who had to stand it." "Stand your silence." "Standing up every morning, reminding myself not to wait anymore. So if tonight you want to talk about what you can't stand, go say it to the mirror." The room seemed to tilt slightly. Jack froze, realizing in full how ridiculous he was, barging in, jealous, possessive, as if those 5 years had never passed. He could hear his own words echoing. "Your hand is out of place." Out of place? No. The one out of place was him, standing between her and the life she had fought to rebuild. "You're right," he choked out, his voice rough. "I'm unreasonable." "At last, something we agree on." Lily lifted her chin. "So do the reasonable thing. Step back." A velvet silence fell. Jack looked into her eyes, not blazing with anger, but steady with the calm of a woman who had learned to save herself. Shame burned so deep he wished he could vanish into a mirror large enough to reflect his own pettiness. "I'm sorry, Daniel," Lily said, turning, her voice soft again, but firm. "Shall we go check the auction list? I want to be sure Summer on the balcony is properly credited to the children." Daniel caught on instantly. "Of course!" He gestured, his arm parallel but not touching. Lily walked away, spine straight, never looking back. Jack remained where he was, stepping back half a pace as she had asked. This time no one forced him. He retreated because, for the first time, he understood that standing any closer would be nothing but an intrusion. The host's voice rang out, announcing that the auction was about to begin. The crowd shifted. From afar, Jack watched Lily speaking with the organizers, her eyes bright, her hand pointing at the children's names as though protecting every single letter. That was her life now. There was no space for him to storm in and ruin it with childish jealousy. Who am I? The question hit him, cold and clear. A man who thought sacrifice gave him the right to return whenever he pleased in demand? Or the coward from years ago, now hiding behind jealousy to escape the truth? He exhaled, despising for the first time the shadow of himself on the white-tiled floor. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Not to her, not to Daniel, but to the arrogant, younger version of himself inside. Then he pulled out his phone, dialing. "Cancel dinner," he told his assistant, "and send me the full file on the Children's Art Center sponsorship. Every detail. I'll take another path." Another path meant this: to fix himself before asking forgiveness, to tell the truth, all of it, including the name he dreaded to say, Mother. To understand that if there was any chance left, it couldn't be bought with power or claimed through jealousy, but earned with respect and responsibility. From across the room, Lily paused for a moment, as if she felt his gaze. Jack lowered his eyes immediately. No signals, no pleading, just stillness, letting her see one thing. He had stepped back. "Mr. Cole?" A collector approached, offering his hand. Jack shook it, spoke the usual pleasantries, but his tone had changed, less rigid, less commanding. Because in his mind, one thought had already been carved in stone. If I don't learn to stand behind, I will never deserve to stand beside. The gavel struck to open the auction. Lily didn't look back, and Jack didn't watch her this time. For the first time, he looked at himself and saw clearly he was the problem that had to be faced before he ever dared to knock on the door of the heart she had locked to protect herself. Late at night, after the exhibition ended, the gallery slowly emptied. The paintings had been sealed for transport, leaving only a few staff tidying up and the faint click of shoes against the marble floor. Lily stood by the window, city lights casting a tired glow across her face. The evening felt longer than usual. Every look, every word, every gesture from Jack clung to her like invisible threads tightening around her heart. A low, familiar voice came from behind. "Can you wait a moment?" She turned. Jack was standing there, no longer wearing the cold mask he'd shown before the crowd. His eyes were darker, conflicted. "What more do you want here?" Lily asked, her tone firm. He stepped closer, but stopped at a careful distance, as though not to make her retreat. "I'm sorry about earlier. I couldn't control myself. I couldn't stand seeing you with someone else. Even just a touch." The words slipped out, hoarse, almost a confession. But instead of softening Lily, they made her laugh, a cold, bitter laugh. "You couldn't stand it?" she repeated. "Jack, have you ever asked yourself what I had to endure? For 5 years, I dragged myself back piece by piece. And you? Where were you when I needed an explanation, a reason to believe it wasn't all a joke?" Jack stayed silent, his jaw clenched tight. "And what about you?" Lily stepped closer, her eyes sharp as blades. "Did you ever care about me at all? Or was I just a passing phase in your busy life, a painting you admired for a moment, then left to gather dust?" The room grew still. From afar, the sound of staff locking up echoed, underlining the suffocating silence between them. Jack opened his mouth, but no words came. He wanted to tell her he loved her, that not a day had passed without her in his mind. He wanted to confess about his mother's opposition, about the fear that had made him a coward, but everything stuck in his throat. He couldn't find words strong enough to wash away 5 years of pain. Only his eyes remained, dark, heavy, filled with inescapable regret. For an instant, Lily's heart trembled as she looked into them, but reason quickly tightened its grip. She turned away, her voice cold. "You can't even answer, can you? Then do me a favor, don't appear in front of me again. Don't make me believe I still matter when the truth is the opposite." Jack drew in a deep breath, his hand clenched white inside his pocket. He knew he had lost the chance. Again. Every word from Lily was a mirror reflecting the weakness he hated most in himself. He nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." Just 3 words, so soft they nearly dissolved into the air. Then he turned and walked away. The glass door closed behind his tall figure, leaving Lily in the vast emptiness. Her heart pounded, not from joy, but from anger and bitterness. "Don't cry. He's not worth it," she told herself. But her eyes still brimmed, reflecting the pale yellow streetlights outside. Across the street, Jack stopped, drawing a sharp breath. He tilted his face to the night sky, pain catching in his chest. Inside, a voice tormented him. "Why can't I say it all? Why do I still let her believe I never loved her?" He walked on into the night, outwardly cold, but inwardly tangled beyond repair. And for the first time in years, Jack Cole, the man who had once controlled the business world, felt utterly powerless, hopeless before a single woman. Soul Stories fam, if you're watching on another channel, come home to us at Soul Stories, where tens of thousands of listeners and sharers come together. In the days following the exhibition, Jack could hardly focus on a single meeting. Numbers, contracts, and financial reports, all blurred into meaningless lines. The only image replaying in his mind was Lily's eyes when she asked, "Did you ever care about me?" That question had been a knife twisting deep, tearing through every layer of defense he had built over the past 5 years. He knew he had disappointed her, but he hadn't realized just how much that disappointment had become a wound carved into her soul. By day, he still appeared cold and composed, issuing decisions with precision that won the board's respect. But when the office doors closed and the golden light of evening fell across his vast office, all that remained was emptiness. Lily. Her name echoed in his mind like a prayer, like an addiction he couldn't quit. Jack began finding ways to stay close to her without making her feel cornered. He knew she was still committed to the orphanage's charity center, where she taught art classes each week. So instead of showing up directly, he chose to help from the shadows. One morning, the center's administrators received a large donation. It was enough to renovate their aging classrooms, to buy new easels and paints for the children. The paperwork bore the name of the Cole Corporation, but Jack had ensured his own name stayed hidden. He even instructed his secretary to investigate the specific cases in which Lily was involved. A child in need of urgent heart surgery, Jack arranged the best surgeon available. Another child dreaming of a new art set, Jack ordered a professional kit to be delivered. Everything went through the charity's fund. Not once was his name mentioned. For Jack, this wasn't pity. It was the only way he knew how to make amends. If he couldn't stand beside her, at least he could help shoulder the burden she carried. Lily quickly discovered the truth. That day, when she read the notice of a new donor for the center, she was momentarily surprised. But when her eyes found the signature, Cole Corporation, her chest tightened. It wasn't hard to guess who was behind it. She sat in silence for a long time, fingers tightening around the paper. A storm of emotions surged within her. Warmth, a pang of gratitude, but above all, bitterness. Does he really think this replaces everything? She told herself. Does he believe money can mend the years I endured? Or is this just another kind of pity, charity tossed down to someone unworthy of his world? She didn't want to feel that way, but memories came crashing back. The day he walked away, she had told herself she wasn't valuable enough for his world, and now this donation felt like confirmation. He stood above, she stood below, and he was the one granting favors. That afternoon during art class, the children cheered when they received their new paints and paper. Their radiant faces softened Lily's heart. She couldn't deny the help was real, necessary, and precious. But deep inside, a thicker layer of ice spread across her heart. She looked out the window, the slanted glow of sunset scattering across the tiled floor. Jack, if you really cared, why didn't you choose me back then? Why now with these quiet gestures that leave me both grateful and small? Across the city, Jack sat in his car, gazing silently through the windshield at the charity center. He didn't step inside. From afar, he saw Lily among the children, bending down to guide a little girl's brushstroke. Sunlight wrapped around her, making her seem like a shard of light in a rough world. He wanted to go to her, to say, "This isn't pity. This is love, the love I never dared show." But his throat tightened. He feared that if he spoke the wrong words again, it would only wound her more. So he stayed there, silent, letting his own heart torment him with a longing that would not rest. That night, the rain fell harder than usual. The streets shimmered under streetlights as cars sped past, rushing to avoid the rising water. Lily hugged her portfolio wrapped in fabric close to her chest, clutching an umbrella overhead. Her thin coat was soaked through, her hair plastered against her cheeks. She only wanted to get home quickly, crawl under her blanket, and forget the chaos tearing at her heart. A car swerved around a corner, its tires splashing through a deep puddle. Water sprayed up, drenching the hem of Lily's skirt. Suddenly, her heel slipped on the slick pavement. She staggered and fell hard. A sharp crack echoed from her ankle, followed by a searing pain. Ah! Lily gasped, biting her lip as she clutched her right foot. Her ankle was already swelling, too painful to move. Lily! That deep, familiar voice cut through the roar of the rain. A tall figure rushed toward her. Jack. He didn't hesitate. Stripping off his jacket, he draped it over her shoulders and knelt at her side. One gentle touch was enough to make him frown. You've twisted it. You won't be able to walk. No, no need, Lily stammered, her voice trembling with pain. I can make it home. Jack looked at her, worry and anger flashing in his eyes. You plan to crawl home in the rain with that ankle? Don't be foolish. Before she could protest, he scooped her up in one swift motion, his arms firm and unyielding. Heat radiated through the layers of wet fabric, and Lily's heart skipped uncontrollably. Put me down! Jack, let me go! She cried, struggling, but pain made her movements futile. Be quiet, Lily, he snapped softly, his voice edged with urgency. I won't let you hurt yourself more. The rain thundered on as Jack carried her quickly to the black car parked nearby. He opened the back door and gently set her inside, then slid into the driver's seat and started the engine. Inside the car, the air was heavy, windows fogged with steam. Lily clutched her ankle, teeth biting her lip until blood rose. Take me home, she whispered, her voice trembling with tears. I don't need a hospital. Jack tightened his grip on the wheel, his eyes burning with resolve as he turned toward her. No, we're getting scans. If there's a fracture, you'll need a cast. I won't risk it. You won't risk it? Lily let out a broken laugh, tears mixing with raindrops on her face. Jack, 5 years ago, you left me to risk everything alone, and now you dare say that? Her words cut deep. Jack fell silent, veins taut across his hand on the steering wheel. Jealousy, pain, regret, all twisted in his chest. Through the downpour, his voice broke out, hoarse and raw. I never stopped loving you. The words hung in the air, heavy as stone. Lily froze, her heart lurching. What did you say? Jack pulled the car to the curb, turning fully toward her. His hair was soaked, his dark eyes burning with turmoil. 5 years, Lily. Not one day passed that I forgot you. I can act cold, bury myself in work, but in here, he pressed his chest, there's only you. Hot tears spilled from Lily's eyes. Her heart trembled, desperate to believe. But her mind screamed in protest. If you loved me, then why did you leave? Why let me believe I wasn't worth anything? The truth lodged in his throat, his mother's threats, his own cowardice. But he couldn't say it. He was terrified that if she knew, he would lose her again. Lily searched his tormented gaze, then shook her head, laughing bitterly. You call it love, but you never had the courage to keep me. Jack, that half-hearted love. I don't need it. She turned away, clutching her injured ankle tight. Raindrops slid down the window pane, mirroring the silent tears inside her heart. The car rolled forward again, this time straight toward the hospital. Jack said nothing, his eyes fixed on the rain-slicked road. Inside, he knew the truth. His confession was a double-edged blade. He had reopened the wound, but lacked the courage to bind it with honesty. When the car stopped, hospital staff rushed to help Lily inside. Jack stayed behind, standing alone in the rain. His broad shoulders were soaked through, his hands hanging useless at his sides. He had spoken the words, I love you, but all he had received in return was doubt and confusion in her eyes. And Jack understood. Unless he conquered his fear, those words would remain nothing more than a hollow echo, lost in the storm of this rainy night. The news spread faster than Lily expected. Just 1 week after that rainy night, headlines erupted across the press. The Cole Corporation was preparing a strategic alliance with the Fairchild family. Multiple sources claimed Jack Cole would be engaged to Amelia Fairchild to seal the partnership. Lily sat frozen in her small apartment, the glow of her phone screen cutting through the dark. Her hand gripped the device until her knuckles turned white, but it was her heart that throbbed with pain. The scene from 5 years ago flooded back. Jack walking away coldly, leaving her with emptiness and no explanation. Now it seemed history was repeating itself, and this time she had no strength left to endure it. She dropped the phone onto the table, biting her lip until blood rose. So it had all been a lie. Those words in the rain, "I never stopped loving you," had been nothing more than a moment of weakness. At the Cole estate, tension thickened the air. Jack sat across from his mother in the vast sitting room. Eleanor Cole, her face severe and her eyes sharp as ice, set her teacup down on the dark wooden table. "You need to understand," she said, her voice calm but steely. "Marriage is not a childish affair of the heart. It's a strategy. Amelia Fairchild is the perfect choice. Wealthy family, proper status. That poor teacher," her eyes flickered with disdain, "will only drag you down." Jack clenched his fist, but his voice remained steady. "Mother, the rumors about Amelia are just that, rumors. I don't care about them." "Don't care?" Eleanor's brow arched, her tone as sharp as a blade. "Do you think this corporation survives on your indifference? If you refuse, our partners will feel insulted. You'll sabotage a billion-dollar deal." "I don't care about any deal that demands I trade away my happiness," Jack said firmly, his eyes burning with rare defiance. Eleanor let out a dry laugh. "Happiness? Son, you're 35. It's time you grew up and put family interests above everything else." Jack rose to his feet, his voice low and rough but unwavering. "I have grown up, and because of that, I will not let the woman I love suffer another moment because of me. 5 years ago, I was a fool to obey you and abandon her. I won't make the same mistake again." Eleanor's eyes widened. "You dare defy me?" "I'm not defying you." Jack held her gaze. "I'm protecting the woman I love. If you truly want me to be happy, then stop." The air grew heavy. For a brief moment, Eleanor's eyes wavered, but quickly hardened again. "You'll regret this." Jack said nothing. He turned, striding out of the room, leaving only the sharp echo of his mother's heels tapping against the marble floor. That evening, Lily received a message. Just a few words. "I need to see you." She hesitated, then agreed. They met at a small, familiar cafe. Lily sat before a cup of hot cocoa, her eyes rimmed red. Jack walked in, his face worn with exhaustion, but his gaze steady. "You've seen the news?" Lily said first, her voice breaking. "You're engaged to Amelia Fairchild. Is it true?" "No." Jack pulled out a chair and sat across from her, his tone gravelly. "Never. That was my mother's arrangement, but I refuse to accept it. I won't let anyone, not even her, make my choices anymore." Lily looked at him, her eyes full of hurt and confusion. "Why should I believe you? 5 years ago, you stayed silent. You turned your back on me, and now you come back saying these words? What if one day you disappear again?" Jack bowed his head, his hands tightening into fists. "I was wrong. I was too much of a coward, letting fear and pressure control me. But this time, I swear to you, I will never abandon you again. Even if I have to fight my own family, I will." His voice shook at the end, but his eyes blazed with determination. Lily sat in silence. Her heart trembled, but her mind held tight. She was afraid to believe, afraid to fall again. "I need time," she whispered. Jack nodded slowly. "I'll wait. As long as it takes. But believe this, Lily. This time, I won't let go." Outside, rain drizzled against the cafe windows. But inside, between two hearts once torn apart, a new flame was kindling, steadier, fiercer, ready to face the final barrier. The grand ballroom of the five-star hotel sparkled under brilliant chandeliers. Hundreds of guests in elegant attire raised their glasses and mingled. This was the Cole Corporation's annual gala, a gathering of investors, partners, and the press. The atmosphere was always lively, but tonight carried a special weight. Rumors swirled that Jack Cole would officially announce his engagement to Amelia Fairchild. Cameras were poised. Journalists waited breathlessly for history to be made. Lily stood in the shadows of a far corner, her heart pounding in her chest. Emma, her best friend, had dragged her here, insisting, if Jack still has any sincerity left, he'll prove it tonight. But as Lily looked at the glittering stage where Jack now stepped forward in a crisp black suit, her hands turned ice cold. He stood tall behind the podium, the spotlight illuminating the chiseled lines of his face. Beside him, Amelia Fairchild and her parents smiled confidently, as though victory was already theirs. Jack began with a speech about the year's achievements, about the corporation's upcoming projects. His voice was deep, steady, each word clear and precise. But beneath that composure, his heart beat wildly. He knew the decision he would make tonight could spark outrage, could unleash a storm in the business world, but he would not retreat again. As he neared the end of his speech, the host's voice rang out, heavy with implication. And now may we invite Mr. Jack Cole to share about the special alliance with the Fairchild family, an announcement so many have been waiting for. The hall fell silent, cameras aimed, ready. Jack drew a deep breath, his eyes sweeping the room before finding the dark corner where Lily stood. For a fleeting second, their gazes locked. He saw the fear in her eyes, the fear that history would repeat itself, that he would once again choose safety over love. Jack tightened his grip on the microphone. His voice rang out, clear and unshakable. There is no engagement. A ripple of shock tore through the hall. Amelia's face drained of color. Jack pressed on, each word firm as a steel. My family may want it, my partners may expect it, but my heart belongs to one woman only. I will not marry for business or power. I will only marry the woman I love. The crowd erupted. Reporters fired questions. Cameras flashed furiously. Mr. Cole, are you saying? One journalist shouted. Jack didn't flinch. His gaze fell openly, directly on Lily. His voice deepened, rich and unwavering, carrying like a vow. I love Lily Bennett, and only her. The ballroom exploded. Some gasped in disbelief. Others whispered feverishly. The Fairchild family rose from their seats, fury etched on their faces. Eleanor Cole, his mother, stood sharply, her eyes like shards of ice. But Jack didn't look her way. His eyes never left Lily. Lily froze. She had never imagined Jack would dare speak her name aloud before hundreds of people. Her heart quivered. Tears stung her eyes. This was what she had once dreamed of, but never believed possible. Emma squeezed her hand, whispering, "See? He chose you." But Lily's fear didn't vanish. She knew this declaration would bring relentless pressure and harsh criticism. She wasn't the daughter of a powerful family. She had no protection. Standing by Jack meant becoming a target, just like 5 years ago. Jack descended the stage, walking straight toward her. The crowd parted, giving way. Each step felt like a hammer striking Lily's heart. He stopped before her, his eyes blazing yet profound. Lily, his voice was low, husky with emotion. I don't care about the pressure. I only care about you. Even if the whole world stands against me, I will not let you go again. Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks, but she shook her head, her voice trembling. Jack, are you sure? Are you sure you can withstand it? When your family, when the entire business world opposes you? He took her hand, gripping tightly, as though willing his strength into her. I'm sure, because the only regret I've ever had in my life is losing you once. I won't repeat that mistake. All eyes in the hall turned toward them. In that moment, Jack Cole, the cold, untouchable CEO, was no longer a titan of industry. He was just a man, brave enough to choose love over calculation. Lily's chest tightened, her heart torn between fear and aching emotion. She couldn't fully believe this love would survive the storms ahead. But she knew one thing. Jack had just given her a reason to hope. Outside the ballroom, the rain still fell lightly. Inside, beneath blinding flashes and a storm of noise, two hearts quietly found their way back to each other, for the first time in 5 years. Thank you for being part of Soul Stories. If you're listening on another channel, come back to the official home so you can continue our love journeys together with the Soul Stories family. That night, after the event ended, Jack didn't let gossip or his mother's fury stop him. He led Lily out of the hotel, ignoring the curious stares of hundreds of guests and the reporters trailing behind. The car glided through the night, silence filling the space. Lily sat in the passenger seat, her heart in knots. Jack's public declaration still echoed in her chest, making it tremble, yet her mind resisted. She couldn't fully believe it. She feared her trust would be buried in pain once again. Where are we going? Lily asked, her voice unsteady. Jack glanced at her, his eyes bright under the car's lights. "I'll show you something I've never said, but have kept safe for the past 5 years." The car stopped in front of an old villa, secluded by a lakeside on the outskirts of town. Moss crept across stone walls, gray tiles lined the roof, and a rose garden surrounded the home, heavy with night fragrance. It wasn't ostentatious, but quiet, solemn, like a secret Jack had hidden from the world. He opened the door and guided her inside. The house was large but warm, lit with soft golden lamps and faintly scented with aged oak. Lily walked slowly, her eyes stopping on a large painting hung in the living room. She froze. It was the collective painting she and the orphans had finished years ago. Sunrise over the flower fields. She remembered every brushstroke, every clumsy splash of color. She never imagined Jack would keep it, let alone hang it in the most honored place of his private home. "You," Lily's voice caught. "You kept it?" Jack stepped closer, his eyes soft as he looked at the painting like it was a treasure. "Not only kept it, I carried it with me when I left you, because it was the only piece of us I had left. Every night I looked at it and asked myself, how could I have been so foolish to let you go?" Lily stood still, her heart tightening. Jack turned back to her, his voice low, rough, yet each word unwavering. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I was afraid, because of my mother." He inhaled deeply, summoning the courage to confess. "Back then, she came to me. She said that if I kept seeing you, she would destroy your career, ensuring you never stood on your own feet again. You know what she's capable of. She's crushed countless people. And you wouldn't have survived her wrath. I was terrified she'd ruin you. So I chose the stupidest path, to walk away." Each word was a blade cutting into himself. Jack let out a bitter laugh. "I thought I was protecting you. But in truth, I was a coward. I let you hurt, let you believe you meant nothing to me. That is the greatest sin of my life." Tears blurred Lily's vision. For years she had tortured herself with the question, did he ever love me? Now the answer was clear, so clear it hurt to breathe. "Jack," her voice trembled, "why? Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me suffer alone?" He stepped closer, stopping just a breath away. His eyes burned, yet carried anguish. "Because I was a fool. I thought silence was a shield, but for 5 years that silence killed us both." Lily broke down, tears rolling down her trembling hands. All the pain, the anger, the waiting, all poured into this single moment. Jack lifted a hand, brushing her wet cheek, wiping away her tears. His voice shook, but it was tender, pleading, "I'm sorry, Lily. I love you, from the very first day, until now, and I'll never stop. If you have even a shred of faith left, let me prove it for the rest of my life." Lily's heart shattered open. She wanted to hate him, to curse him, but the tears wouldn't stop. She felt the truth in every word, saw the regret burning in his eyes. She collapsed against his chest, sobbing, "I hate you, but I've never stopped loving you." Jack wrapped his arms around her, holding her as if letting go would make her disappear. His breath shook against her hair. "I swear, this time nothing will tear us apart. Not family, not power, not anything." In the quiet villa, under the glow of warm light, 2 broken hearts finally found their way back. And the painting from long ago, proof of their past, proof that love had never died, hung silently on the wall, as if smiling, witnessing their moment of reconciliation. Dawn spread across the city sky, clear light streaming through the windows of the charity center. The cheerful chatter of children filled the art classroom. Today was a small exhibition, where their paintings were displayed on the walls and auctioned to raise funds. Lily stood in the bright room, wearing a simple dress, her hair tied up. She was still the gentle teacher the children adored, but her smile shone brighter today, for beside her stood Jack. Not as a distant benefactor, but as a true part of this family. He bent down to help a boy adjust an easel, his large hands a little clumsy, but his eyes surprisingly patient. When the boy looked up and grinned, Jack grinned too, a smile rarely seen on that cold, stoic face. "You're doing great," Lily said softly as she stepped beside him. I'm just trying to learn from you, he replied, his deep voice warm. But it seems the kids like me more than I expected. Lily laughed, her heart fluttering. This man had changed. No longer the aloof, powerful Jack Cole of glittering galas, but a different Jack. Gentle, patient, willing to bend down for the smallest things. Midway through, Daniel arrived. He carried a box of new books for the center's library. His smile was kind as ever, his gaze still full of care. But different today. Not the look of a man hoping, but of a friend. Hello, everyone. Daniel set the box down and clapped as the children rushed over to greet him. He looked at Lily, then at Jack, and gave a slight nod. I see the two of you have found your path. Lily froze for a second, but Daniel only smiled, his eyes sincere. I once thought I could bring you happiness, Lily. But now I know your true happiness can only come from this man. He turned to Jack, extending a firm handshake. Take care of her. Never lose her again. Jack gripped his hand tightly, his eyes burning with resolve. You have my word. Thank you for being there for her when I couldn't. In that moment, Lily felt a weight lift. No more uncertainty, no blurred lines. Daniel had chosen to step back, to remain a good friend, and that made her and Jack's path forward clearer than ever. By evening, the exhibition ended with donations far beyond expectations. Every child's painting was sold, and the room was filled with joy. Lily busied herself signing paperwork, while Jack stood back, quietly watching. He didn't interrupt, didn't take over. He simply waited until she was done, then stepped forward to take her hand in his. Are you tired? He asked gently. Yes, but happy. Lily looked up at him, smiling. See? This is what I want. Not fancy galas, not camera flashes, just these smiles. Jack nodded, his eyes deep. I understand, and I'll be here with you, not as a billionaire, but just as a man. Yours alone. Lily stilled, her heart melting. In the golden glow of sunset, he was no longer Jack Cole, the cold CEO, but Jack, the man who carried pain, regret, and had finally learned to love gently. That night, they left the center hand in hand, walking along the quiet street. The breeze carried the scent of early season blossoms. Lily rested her head on his shoulder, whispering, I'm still afraid, Jack. Afraid that pressure from your family, from the outside world, will pull you away again. He stopped, turning to meet her eyes. His voice was low, steady. I'm not the coward I was 5 years ago. I've learned that love is not something to trade away. You are my only choice. And this time, I'll fight to the end. Tears shimmered in Lily's eyes under the streetlights. She smiled, her heart filled with a trust. Fragile, but stronger than ever before. Somewhere in the city, Eleanor Cole heard the news that her son had defied the family, declaring his love publicly. She sat in silence for a long time, her icy gaze flickering with something unreadable. But that was a story for another time. Here, under the golden lights, amid the cheerful voices of passers-by, Jack and Lily stepped into a new beginning. A beginning not only of love, but of companionship, of shared burdens, and of a promise, never to let go again. A year had passed. Time seemed to have given Lily an entirely different life. She was still the same simple art teacher, still devoted to the children at the charity center. But every morning she woke, she knew there was a man by her side, someone who shared her joys and carried her burdens. Jack had changed too. He was still a powerful CEO, but no longer the cold billionaire splashed across magazine covers. To those who knew him well, he was now a man who smiled more easily, who listened with patience, and who didn't hesitate to roll up his sleeves to plant flowers, cook meals, or set out paints with Lily and the children. Tonight, Lily accepted his invitation, a small dinner in the rose garden at the villa by the lake. She entered and froze in awe. Thousands of roses bloomed in full glory, and golden lights strung above glimmered like stars. The scene was so enchanting that she had to pause, breathing in the sweet fragrance. Do you like it? Jack's voice came from behind. Lily turned to see him in a light gray suit, not flashy but flawless in every detail. His gaze was gentle, shining under the lights. It's beautiful. she whispered, eyes glistening. You prepared all this? Jack stepped closer, taking her hand, leading her down a path strewn with fallen rose petals. I've waited a whole year for this day. The sound of violins drifted from a corner of the garden. Close friends and children from the center were there too, but they respectfully kept their distance, leaving space for the two of them. Jack stopped beneath an arch of scarlet roses, golden light pouring over his shoulders. He turned, locking his gaze on Lily, those eyes that had kept him awake for so many years. Lily, he said softly, his deep voice trembling, I once made the greatest mistake of my life, letting you go. I lived 5 years in regret, and I swear I'll never repeat it. Tonight, before all those who matter to us, I want to ask you one thing. Slowly he knelt down, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside was a diamond ring, simple yet exquisitely crafted, sparkling like morning dew. I let you go once, Jack's voice grew hoarse with emotion. This time, never again. Lily's heart clenched. Tears spilled hot down her cheeks. The world blurred, leaving only the image of the man kneeling before her, his eyes filled with unwavering, genuine love. Are you really sure? She whispered, her trembling hand covering her mouth. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Lily sobbed, nodding again and again. Yes, I will. Applause erupted across the garden, the roses seeming to glow brighter. Jack rose, sliding the ring onto Lily's finger, then pulling her into his strong embrace. They held each other tightly as if to erase every distance that had ever existed. Lily's tears soaked his shoulder, but this time, they were tears of happiness. I love you, Jack whispered into her ear. I love you too, Lily replied, her voice trembling but resolute. The music swelled again, this time a sweet waltz. Jack extended his hand, bowing slightly. May I have this dance with my beautiful fiancé? Through her tears, Lily smiled and placed her hand in his. With all my heart. They twirled together in the rose garden, golden lights glowing above, rose petals drifting down like rain. All eyes were on them, but in that moment, only two hearts beat as one. Jack was no longer the cold man of years past, but a man who had learned how to love, how to be steadfast, how to hold on to happiness. And Lily was no longer the girl who doubted love, but the woman who had found trust and peace once more in his arms. And as the music slowed, they kept dancing under the golden lights, as if nothing in the world could ever part them again.